It might look as though Justice James Omotosho of the Abuja Federal High Court has had it, as the latest development emerging from the court is a bit worrisome. Now, remember that the last time the court sat, the case was adjourned to 4th, 5th, and 6th of November. And also the last time, Nnamdi Kanu vehemently refused to enter his defense. Justice Omotosho had, spoken to him about the importance of entering his defense. When they came back to court today, Nnamdi Kanu still insists that he is not defending anything because he has absolutely nothing to defend. And so I am here to fill you in on what played out in court today. The ruling of the Federal High Court presided over by Justice James Omotosho, and what the implications might be for Nnamdi Kanu. This is Political Arena, and glad to have you here. Please do well to like, subscribe, share, and always be a part of the conversation in the comments. Now let's get into what happened today at the Federal High Court in Abuja. Justice James Omotosho has given Kanu, who is, of course, the leader of the IPOB, a strict deadline of November 5th, 2025 to either enter his defense in the alleged terrorism charges or formally waive his right to do so. And like I said, this directive had to come after Nnamdi Kanu failed for the 4th consecutive day to present a defense following the prosecution's closure of its case. Remember that Kanu had submitted a no-case submission claiming that prosecution did not establish a prima facie case against him. But the court overruled his argument and signaled that it found sufficient evidence for the case to proceed to defense. Everybody was waiting for his lawyers to put up a defense when they, told the judge that they were withdrawing from the case as requested by the defendant, which is Nnamdi Kanu. And so at the proceedings today, Kanu, who is representing himself in court, stated that he had not filed a final written address as ordered, but had instead filed a motion and a supporting affidavit. Crucially, he maintained that he will not enter a defense and kept on arguing that no valid charge under Nigerian law exists against him. If you watch my last video, I talked about the new motion that Kanu filed before the court and the fact that he gave the court an ultimatum to rule on that particular motion. Well, I don't want to go back to that video. If you just check, I think that's just about the second to the last video, right? I made a video on it. So if you missed out on that, feel free to catch up on it, okay? So, but then, I don't know how much of a good look this is for Nnamdi Kanu, and I would like for us to talk about what the implications are, right? And so by setting a firm deadline, the court has effectively put pressure on Kanu, and failure to enter a defense may lead to a judgment in absentia or potentially a default conviction, right? Which would legally weaken Kanu's position and could, embolden the government's narrative on handling Nnamdi Kanu's separatist movement. And what will the impact be on IPOB's legal strategy, right? Kanu stands or refuses to recognize the charges. It poses a great risk. That's according to a couple of reactions that I've seen. Courts generally do not allow indefinite refusal to defend oneself. A judgment may be passed against him and potentially exposing him to lengthy prison sentences or increased restrictions. And politically, his refusal may rally his supporters who see the court process as biased, but legally it diminishes his leverage within the formal judicial framework, right? And implications for Nigeria's legal system. The court's firm action reinforces the perception that no individual, regardless of political or separatist affiliation, is above the law. However, the situation also places the Nigerian judiciary in a politically sensitive position. Any adverse outcome against Kanu could trigger unrest in southeastern part of Nigeria, So it requires careful management by law enforcement and political actors. Kanu's case has become a symbolic flashpoint for debates across the world, across Nigeria, and it shines the spotlight on Nigeria's handling of separatist groups in the country. So the court's ruling may influence upcoming political narratives and elections, especially among southeastern states where IPOB retains significant grassroots support. So the November 5th deadline is a pivotal moment. Nnamdi Kanu must either defend himself or risk default judgment, and his refusal to recognize the charges puts him at legal risk, but may strengthen his political messaging to his supporters. I don't know how Kanu intends to wriggle out of this case, but I have been hoping that a political solution is on the way, as indicated a few times by the governor of Abia State, Alex Soti. He has said it quite a number of times, but he is engaging with the federal government to see how Nnamdi Kanu will be released. So I don't know if such conversations are still on. Just a few weeks ago, Nnamdi Kanu gave a letter of authority signed by his former lead counsel, Aloye Jimako, and handed over to Obiagocha to serve as the chief negotiator, if my memory serves me right. I don't know if that's to serve as the chief negotiator with the government. So we are not aware. The media is not privy to any meeting, any behind closed door meeting that centers on a potential release of Nnamdi Kanu, and this calls for a serious concern. What are the Southeast governors doing? So is this something that the governments can just find a way to resolve so that we can move on to the next chapter? And I can't help but ask, what if the Buhari administration had listened to Amechi Mbazurike when he led a delegation to the federal government at the time to appeal for Nnamdi Kanu's release, and that Nnamdi Kanu should be handed over to the Igbo elders? If that had happened at the time, I would want to believe that this issue would have been resolved in the most amicable way. But I don't understand the disposition of this current administration to this matter. They have really not spoken much about it. They're basically trying to, the body language suggests that they would rather allow the court to, take its course. This is more like the executive not interfering with the judicial process. But then again, the Attorney General can choose to stop this trial. The Attorney General can choose to withdraw this case. And in the absence of the Attorney General of the Federation saying, okay, we would like to take this case off the court and seek for a political solution, there's not much that can be done. The court would have to sit on the matter. Justice Omotosho has, nothing to do. Like, he literally cannot do anything about this case because the matter has been assigned to him, and there is absolutely nothing that he can do other than to sit over this matter, look at the facts of the case, and, pronounce judgment based on the evidence before him. I am still hopeful that a political solution is on the way. I am definitely hopeful that a political solution is on the way, especially with 2027 in sight. A lot of politicians in the Southeast would want to score political points, and they have made commitments. They have, said things to suggest that they have been doing something about Kanu's release. So any attempt not to follow through on their promise will not make them look good, especially those of them who are seeking for re-election. So we are hoping that this matter will be resolved. But as far as the court's outing today is concerned, it is not a good look for Nnamdi Kanu, and he has been given the ultimatum. He has been given an ultimatum to enter his defense tomorrow or risk judgment in absentia. And remember that he does not have a legal team as we speak. He is defending himself. Whether he's been able to do a great job at that is a different conversation for another day. So, fingers crossed, and I'll try as much as I can to bring you the update. This is Political Arena. Do what to like, subscribe, and share, and tell me what you think in the comments. See you in the next one.